My brother Marcus's voice echoed sharply across the crowded parking lot of the Riverside Country Club. "That rusty Honda is an embarrassment to our entire family," he shouted, his tone dripping with frustration. "Get a real car, Emma, or don't bother showing up here again." I glanced down at the keys in my hand, then back at my 2014 Honda Civic, which gleamed under the afternoon sun. It wasn't rusty at all. I'd meticulously maintained it, ensuring it ran perfectly. But in a sea of sleek BMWs, polished Mercedes, and flashy Porsches, my practical sedan stood out like a sore thumb during our monthly family gathering. "The car runs just fine, Marcus," I replied softly, trying to keep the peace. His face flushed red with exasperation. "That's not the point, Emma. Don't you see what everyone else is driving? Don't you realize that appearances matter? People judge our family based on how we present ourselves." Our sister Victoria, standing beside her pristine white Range Rover, nodded in agreement. "Emma, you're 31 years old. It's time to grow up and invest in something that reflects your status." Marcus let out a bitter laugh. "What status?" "She's working at some tiny nonprofit, scraping by on $35,000 a year. By her age, I was already driving a Porsche and living in a penthouse downtown." Let me take a step back to explain how we arrived at this heated moment. Our family's monthly gathering at the Riverside Country Club had begun 3 hours earlier, and it had been a disaster from the moment I pulled into the parking lot. My father was waiting by the entrance, his gold Rolex glinting as he checked the time with visible impatience. "Emma, you're 20 minutes late," he said, his voice laced with disapproval. "Sorry, Dad," I replied. I was caught up finalizing a project proposal. Victoria, striding up in her designer heels and a $2,000 dress, smirked dismissively. "Another one of your little computer projects? How are those keyboard lessons going?" I took a deep breath. "I teach comprehensive technology skills to underprivileged children, Victoria. It's meaningful charity work." Marcus, adjusting his $500 tie, chimed in. "When are you going to get serious about building a real career, Emma?" Inside the club, the interrogation intensified. We were seated at our family's usual table in the grand dining room, surrounded by the city's elite business families. The Hendersons, at the next table, were a power couple. He was the mayor. She owned 3 boutique hotels. Across the room, the Pattersons, both renowned surgeons, had built a private practice empire. Near the windows, the Williams family, real estate moguls who developed half the city's upscale neighborhoods, held court. My mother gestured subtly at the other tables. "Look around, Emma. These are successful people. Their children drive appropriate cars, wear high-quality clothes, and live in respectable homes." I pushed back gently. "I live in a perfectly good home, Mom. A starter house in Millbrook." Victoria scoffed. "That's where college graduates live for a couple of years before moving on to something better." The conversation grew more pointed as Marcus leaned forward. "Mortgage-free, Emmy? You're 31. You should be building wealth, not just avoiding debt. You should be investing in assets that appreciate, not scraping by." Victoria laughed, her tone cutting. "Investing in what? That Honda? It's practically a decade old." I corrected her calmly. "It's 7 years old, and it's reliable." My father shook his head, his expression heavy with disappointment. "Sweetheart, we're trying to help you understand something important. Success isn't just about being comfortable. It's about building something impressive, something that commands respect." I raised an eyebrow. "Like what Marcus has built?" Marcus grinned proudly. "Exactly. I'm a senior partner at a prestigious law firm, billing $400 an hour. I drive a Porsche 911, live in a downtown penthouse, and I'm closing on a vacation home in Aspen next month." Victoria added, "And I own 3 high-end boutiques in the shopping district. My stores generated $1.2 million in revenue last year." I nodded sincerely. "That's genuinely impressive." My mother, ever hopeful, prompted me. "Now tell them what you do, Emma." I took a moment before answering. "I run educational programs that teach technology skills to children who can't afford computers at home." The table fell silent. Around us, other families discussed business deals, investment portfolios, and luxurious vacation homes. My father broke the silence. That's nice, Emma, but what's your 5-year plan? What are you building toward? I replied firmly, I'm building toward helping more children gain access to technology education. Marcus sighed heavily. Emma, that's not a business plan. That's a hobby with good intentions. I shook my head. I disagree. Victoria's tone was patronizing. Look, we appreciate that you want to help people, but you can't live your entire life as a volunteer. You need to think about your future, your retirement, your ability to contribute meaningfully to society. I started to respond, but Marcus cut in. By what metric are you contributing? How many people have you employed? How much tax revenue have you generated? What kind of economic impact are you making? Before I could answer, my father interrupted. The point is, sweetheart, we're concerned about your long-term prospects. Teaching computer basics to kids is admirable, but it's not a sustainable career. My mother added patiently, nonprofits don't pay well, Emma. You're not building equity or ownership. You're limiting yourself to whatever grants and donations you can secure. Just then, Mrs. Henderson approached our table, smiling warmly at my parents. Robert, Linda, how wonderful to see you both. Marcus, congratulations on making senior partner. The mayor was just praising your brilliant legal work on the waterfront development project. Marcus beamed. Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. It was a complex transaction, but we structured it favorably for all parties. She turned to Victoria. And I adore what you've done with your newest boutique. The window displays are absolutely stunning. Victoria smiled. Thank you. We're expanding into accessories next quarter. Then, with polite curiosity, Mrs. Henderson looked at me. And Emma, what field are you in? The table went quiet, my family tensing as they waited for my response. I work in educational technology, I said simply, focusing on underserved communities. She nodded. That's wonderful. It's so important to give back. After Mrs. Henderson returned to her table, my family's expressions mixed pity and frustration. Victoria spoke first. Do you see the problem, Emma? When successful people ask about your career, you give vague, almost apologetic answers. I stood my ground. I wasn't apologetic. Marcus pointed out, you said you work independently. That's code for unemployed. I sighed. I'm not unemployed. My father leaned in. But you're not really employed either. You're doing freelance work, project to project, grant to grant. There's no stability, no growth potential, no real business foundation. The conversation dragged on for another hour, with my family systematically critiquing every aspect of my life. My career was unsustainable, my income inadequate, my home embarrassing, my car a symbol of failure. As we left the restaurant, my mother pleaded, at least promise us you'll consider making some changes. I asked, what kind of changes? Marcus was blunt. Get a real job with a real company, something in corporate training or educational consulting. Use your skills in a way that pays properly. Victoria added, and buy a decent car, something that doesn't make people feel sorry for you. That's when Marcus's frustration boiled over, his loud outburst about my Honda drawing stairs from across the parking lot. Now, 30 minutes later, I was driving home, Marcus's red Porsche tailing closely behind in my rearview mirror. Clearly, he wasn't done lecturing me about responsibility and realistic expectations. I lived in Millbrook, a modest middle-class neighborhood with well-kept homes, small yards, and single-car garages, a place Marcus and Victoria considered beneath their standards. Successful professionals, in their view, moved away from such areas as quickly as possible. As I pulled into my driveway, Marcus parked behind me, already shaking his head at my simple 2-story house, painted white with blue shutters and a small front porch. It was unassuming, blending seamlessly with the other homes on the block, nothing to impress the country club crowd. He stepped out of his Porsche, striding toward me with the determination of someone who'd spent the entire drive preparing his arguments. Emma, I followed you because we need to finish this conversation, he said firmly. What conversation? I asked, already weary. The one about your future, about making better choices. He gestured at my house. Look at this place. It's fine for a starter home, but you've been here for 4 years. When are you going to upgrade? When are you going to start building real equity? I replied calmly, I own this house outright, Marcus. He shook his head. That's not the point. The point is growth, progression, moving up in the world. His gaze shifted to my Honda. And that car needs to go. I don't care if it runs fine. It makes you look like you're struggling. I stood firm. I'm not struggling. He challenged me. Then prove it, Emma. Show me one thing in your life that demonstrates success. One thing that shows you're building wealth instead of just scraping by. I looked at my brother, who'd spent the entire evening obsessing over appearances and status symbols, too caught up in what others thought to question his assumptions about me. Marcus, since you're so concerned about cars, I said with a slight smile, would you like to see my collection? He snorted, incredulous. Your collection? What, do you have 2 Hondas hidden somewhere? I walked to my garage and pressed the button on my key fob. The large door began to rise slowly, revealing a sight that stopped Marcus in his tracks. These are my weekend cars, I said as the door fully opened, unveiling a midnight blue Lamborghini Huracan Evio, a silver Aston Martin DB11, and a black Ferrari 488 GTB. Their combined value nearing $750,000. Marcus stood frozen, his mouth agape, his carefully prepared lecture forgotten. What? How? Where did you get these? He stammered. I bought them, I replied calmly, running my hand along the Ferrari's sleek surface. With what money? He demanded. You work at a nonprofit making $35,000 a year. I shook my head. You're right that I work with underprivileged children, Marcus, but you've got it wrong. I don't work for a nonprofit, I own several of them. Future Minds Foundation, Digital Dreams Initiative, and Technology Access Alliance. Together, they serve over 15,000 children annually across 23 states. Marcus's eyes darted between the cars, his mind struggling to process the revelation. But that doesn't explain how you can afford these. I pulled out my phone and opened the app I'd been working on during family gatherings, the one they'd dismissed as playing with technology. This is Digital Learning Dynamics, I explained. We create comprehensive educational software platforms for schools, corporations, and government agencies. Our annual revenue last year was $67.3 million, with a net profit of $31.8 million. We have active contracts with 1,247 school districts, 89 Fortune 500 companies, and 12 government agencies. Marcus grabbed his Porsche for support, his face pale. $67 million, he whispered. I opened the Lamborghini's hood, revealing its pristine V10 engine. This car cost $267,000. I paid cash because I don't believe in financing luxury items. The Aston Martin was $198,000, the Ferrari $280,000. I also paid cash for this house, which I had fully renovated and expanded last year. Marcus looked around, suddenly noticing details he'd overlooked. The driveway wasn't just concrete, it was custom decorative pavers, likely costing $15,000. The landscaping was professionally designed, the garage oversized and climate-controlled. Emma, I don't understand, he said. If you have this much money, why do you live so normally? I smiled. Because I value substance over appearances. I'd rather invest in my business and charitable work than impress people at country clubs. The Honda gets excellent gas mileage, is reliable, and doesn't make me a target for theft. It's practical daily transportation. I led him to the side of the garage, where a large window revealed my home office, a technology setup that would rival any corporate headquarters. 12 large monitors across 3 workstations, servers humming in a climate-controlled rack, equipment worth at least $150,000. This is where I built Digital Learning Dynamics, I said. This is where I manage contracts worth tens of millions, design programs that are transforming how children learn technology skills. Marcus pressed his face against the window, staring at the sophisticated setup. But you never said anything. You let us think you were just doing charity work. I nodded. I am doing charity work. My business generates enough profit to fund extensive charitable programs while building personal wealth. My phone rang, interrupting us. It was Dr. Sarah Chin from Harvard University. Excuse me, I need to take this, I said. Hello, Dr. Chin. Her voice was excited. Emma, excellent news. The university board has approved your proposal. Harvard will implement digital learning dynamics across all our computer science and education programs starting next semester. Marcus's eyes widened as he saw the caller ID. What's the contract value? I asked. $12.7 million over 4 years, with automatic renewal options, Dr. Chin replied. This will be the largest educational technology contract in Harvard's history. I smiled. I'm honored. My team will begin customization immediately. After hanging up, I turned to Marcus. That was Harvard. One of many contracts. We also work with Stanford, MIT, Yale, Princeton, and Caltech, most of the Ivy League, plus major state universities and community colleges. Education is a $750 billion industry, Marcus, and technology spending grows by 15% annually. I showed him our client dashboard. These are our active contracts, worth $347 million over the next 5 years, with $89 million in pending proposals and $156 million in renewal options. Marcus sat heavily on my decorative stone retaining wall, overwhelmed. $347 million in contracts, he muttered. I started the Ferrari, its engine roaring to life, and gestured for him to follow in his Porsche. We drove to the back of my property, where a small building sat among mature oak trees. What's that? He asked. My primary development facility, I replied. The home office is for administrative work. This is where we create our software products. Using a key card, I opened the building, revealing a state-of-the-art technology laboratory that looked like it belonged in a Fortune 500 company's R&D department. Servers, development workstations, testing equipment, and prototyping stations filled the space, worth more than most people's annual salaries. This lab cost $3.8 million to build and equip, I explained. We develop and test all our educational software here. Marcus stopped at a wall covered with patents, awards, and certificates. What are these? He asked. Patents for educational technology innovations, awards from the Department of Education, the National Science Foundation, and various organizations, certifications for security and accessibility. He pointed to a framed certificate. Is that you with the Secretary of Education? I nodded. Last year's National Education Technology Conference. We won the Innovation Award for our adaptive learning algorithms. Marcus studied the awards, Outstanding Contribution to Educational Technology, Entrepreneur of the Year, Innovation Leadership. Emma, why have you never shown us any of this? He asked. When would I have? Every family gathering, you and Victoria talk about your accomplishments while dismissing mine as a hobby. I logged into our company dashboard. Right now, 1.3 million students are using our learning platforms across 47 states and 18 countries. Today's revenue is approximately $290,000 per day. Marcus stared at the metrics: active users, completed lessons, revenue streams, profit margins. I opened another application. Future Minds Foundation has donated $18.7 million to educational programs over the past 5 years. We've built 47 computer labs in underserved schools, provided scholarships to 156 students, and trained over 800 teachers. Marcus was silent, absorbing the scope of my work. The country club, he said finally. When Mrs. Henderson asked about your work, you made it sound so small. I shook my head. I made it sound honest. I didn't need to announce my net worth to a stranger. He hesitated. What is your net worth? I paused, then answered. Between the business valuation, real estate, investments, and liquid assets, approximately $94 million. Marcus made a choking sound. $94 million? I nodded. It fluctuates, but that's the current estimate. My phone buzzed with a text from the Department of Defense requesting a meeting to discuss adapting our technology for military training, a potential $47 million contract. Marcus looked at the message. The Pentagon wants to hire you? I nodded. Our adaptive learning algorithms could revolutionize military training. He shook his head, finally understanding. When you were on your laptop during family dinners, you were managing this empire. I smiled. The work doesn't stop for Sunday dinner. My phone rang again. My CFO, Janet Rodriguez. Emma, Q4 numbers are in. Revenue was $21.4 million, up 43% from last quarter. Net profit was $12.8 million. Cash position is $31.7 million, plus $18 million in the expansion fund. I authorized the new Boston Development Center, set to open by March. Marcus sat on my front steps, overwhelmed. $31 million in cash? Another facility. I nodded. Our third major center to serve our Ivy League clients better. He looked at me with newfound respect. Emma, how can we make this up to you? We've treated you like a failure while you built an empire. I considered his question. Start by understanding that success comes in many forms. Stop judging people by their possessions. Recognize that my work helping children is vital. The students we serve will become tomorrow's technology leaders. Marcus laughed, the first genuine laugh of the day. And I promise never to complain about your Honda again. My phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. Marcus, what's taking so long? Did you finish explaining to Emma why she needs to get her life together? I showed it to Marcus. What should I tell her? He asked. Tell her I'll discuss my life choices at next month's family gathering, I said. And tell her I might drive something different to the country club. He grinned. Which car? I shrugged. Maybe the Lamborghini. It's been a while since I took it out. Marcus glanced at the garage, where my supercars gleamed. The family will be shocked. I nodded. Good. Maybe they'll start asking questions instead of making assumptions. As Marcus got into his Porsche, now looking less impressive next to my collection, he turned to me. Emma, thank you for not giving up on us, even when we gave up on you. I watched his taillights fade down Millbrook Drive. My phone began ringing Victoria, then Mom, then Dad. Marcus had clearly made some urgent calls. I let them go to voicemail. Tomorrow would be soon enough for conversations about respect, success, and the difference between appearing wealthy and being wealthy. Tonight, I planned to take the Ferrari for a drive through the city, windows down, engine roaring, just because I could. After building a $94 million fortune by age 31 while helping 15,000 children through my charitable programs, I'd earned the right to enjoy my success, quietly parked in an unassuming garage or not. Please feel free to comment below if you liked this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.